Here we are, back at it again. Another night, another video. And again, I was scrolling through the internet and found a wonderful article. All right. Again, y'all know I'm a nerd, so I like this type of stuff, man. Psychology, that's my field. I love this type of stuff. But what we got today, y'all? We have psychology says only children who spent a lot of time growing up usually display these non-distinctive traits as adults. I think I added a word in there, but hey, that's all good. We finna run it. So who this by? Avery White. This came out on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2026. Oh, my baby birthday. All right, it says from building imaginary worlds in empty bedrooms to becoming adults who thrive in solitude. Those quiet childhood hours weren't just passing time. They were secretly forging nine extraordinary traits that psychology reveals still shape who you are today. I like that. This matters a lot to me because I'm not gonna lie. In college, I had I want to say she was either Chinese or Japanese. I'm sorry, y'all. I had a professor, an Asian professor, in my psychology class, and we had to do a practicum. It was psychology of adolescence. And during this time, some of our damn, I can't come up with the words. Some of our prompt and study was to go out into a school, evaluate these kids, their interactions, they how they build their hierarchical systems, the popular kids or the poor kids, the well-to-do kids, things like that. And come back and report on your findings as it applies to the lessons we studied in class. So you got Piaget's theory and things like that. It's a bunch of theories in psychology, but how do all of these different things apply to what we see in the psychology of adolescence? So that's why I find this interesting because it is very near and dear to my heart. So we got this is what it says. The silence in my childhood bedroom was so thick you could almost touch it. I had an older brother and a younger brother and an older sister who lived with me. The older two, not all of my life, a good portion of it. I had a younger brother who lived with me all my life. And I had a bunch of boy cousins. So it wasn't a lot of silence in the bedroom. But, times when you go to school and things like that, there is a lot of silence. A lot of times when you sitting by yourself. You see what I'm saying? You go to practice, you get out from practice, pops at work, mama got to do her thing, and you waiting on them to come pick you up from practice. You get them 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours to sit there and just kind of, be in your head. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it wasn't silence in the home a lot of times because growing up, if in them families with them kind of moms, yeah, bro, it's not ever silent for real. But you do have those times. You do, right? So let's keep going. While other kids filled their afternoons with play dates and soccer practice, I sat cross legged on my carpet, building entire worlds with Legos, losing myself in books, or having elaborate conversations with imaginary friends. Growing up as an only child meant solitude wasn't just common, it was my default setting. If you spent significant time alone as a child, you might recognize this scene. And according to psychology, those solitary hours weren't just empty space. They were shaping you in profound ways that still influence who you are today. I agree. Recently, while diving into research on childhood development and adult personality traits, I discovered something fascinating. Children who spend extensive time alone often develop distinct characteristics that set them apart as adults. These aren't deficits or problems to fix. They're unique strengths and tendencies that emerge from all those hours of self-directed play and quiet contemplation. Facts, been there. So the first one we have is exceptional self-awareness. I can definitely see that. Remember those long afternoons when it was just you and your thoughts. Those hours of solitude created something invaluable, a deep understanding of your own mind. When you spend that much time with yourself as a child, you become intimately familiar with your thoughts, feelings, and reactions. You notice patterns in how you think, what makes you happy, what frustrates you. This early practice in self-observation often translates into remarkable self-awareness as an adult. I've seen this in my own life constantly. Having spent countless hours alone as a kid, I developed an almost automatic habit of checking in with myself. For sure, like when it says exceptional self awareness, uh, uh, I respect feedback. I enjoy feedback. I enjoy criticism and constructive criticism because there is a thing to be said about everybody else's perspective of you, how people perceive you. Perception is reality, some might say. So it is a thing to be said about how people view you. But I don't. It got to a point at a certain age I didn't care anymore because I know me so well that somebody will try to tell me something. I'm like, man, like you gaslight me, or somebody say, oh, like yeah, you know that was him who did it, or somebody come to me and be like, did you do this? No, I did not. How can you say that so confidently? Because I know myself. I can say that very confidently because I know me better than I know everybody else in the world. And I'm telling you off top, that's not something I do. My morals, values, my habits, it just don't coincide with that. So I can tell you off top 100%, that's not my work. You see what I'm saying? Don't gaslight me. Don't try to manipulate me. Don't try to coerce me into something. I know it ain't me. I'm exceptionally self-aware. Not saying similar to the author that I spent so much time alone as a kid, but I spent a significant amount of time alone as a kid to be able to understand these things. You see what I'm saying? So I like that. All right. Now, number two. Damn, hold on. Number two, rich in a world and imagination. Without siblings to play with or constant entertainment, solitary children become masters at creating their own worlds. That cardboard box becomes a spaceship. The backyard transforms into an unexplored jungle. And stuffed animals develop complex personalities and backstories. This imaginative muscle doesn't atrophy in adulthood. Instead, it often becomes a superpower. Adults who spend a lot of time alone, oh, my bad. Adults who spend lots of time alone as children frequently excel in creative fields, problem solving, and innovation. They can visualize possibilities others might miss and find unconventional solutions to challenges. Even in my analytical finance days, I found myself approaching problems differently than my colleagues. While they looked at spreadsheets, I saw stories and patterns. That creative lens, developed through years of solitary play, made me see connections others overlooked. For sure. But I can say this. Like I said, I didn't grow up as an only child. I had a little brother. I had older siblings. I had a lot of cousins. We spent a lot of time together as kids. But the difference was, even though we had technology, like we had video games, we didn't have cell phones attached to us all the time or iPads, anything like that. But it was us being able to go outside and play and do things. And this is what I think is missing. Our parents and our aunties and uncles gave us the freedom to go out and explore and use our imagination. We went caught up so much. You know what I'm saying? These helicopter babies. We went up under our parents all the time. We was outside making our own fun. You see what I'm saying? I'm not comparing it to our childhood versus other people's childhood. I'm just saying we had technology too. We had video games. We like those things, but we spent a lot of time outside doing other things. Even to this day, like, yeah, I hop on a game for a few hours, but a lot of my time is spent outside, gymming, running, doing things like that. I'd rather be four wheeling, dirt biking, even as an adult. So I can see how she said that translate from, childhood to now. And even now, I still like my solitude. When it comes to problem solving, I think people who have that type of imagination, it's a lot easier for them to work through problems because they can think outside the box. Most people are they trying to, they live life in this little box and they are afraid to step out of it. They're afraid what people might say. They're afraid of the repercussions that might come with it. They're afraid of a lot of things. But I think the greatest inventions, the greatest innovations, the greatest additions we've seen to the corporate world and the blue collar world are those people who are able to think outside the box and bring that imagination in and actually transform things to be better. So I like that she put that in there, but it's gonna get kind of long. Let's keep going. Comfort with solitude. Here's something that might surprise people who didn't grow up this way. Being alone doesn't equal being lonely. Children who spend substantial time by themselves often grow into adults Ooh, shit, sorry. Children who spend substantial time by themselves often grow into adults who genuinely enjoy their own company, for sure. Discomfort with solitude is increasingly rare in our hyper connected world. What? While others might feel anxious with constant social stimulation, these adults can happily spend a weekend alone pursuing hobbies, reading, or simply being. They don't need external validation or entertainment to feel complete. This is where they lost me because I see so many maybe it's just because I'm on social media all the time looking for content and things to react to. But I feel like there's an increasingly larger portion of the generation and the world nowadays who prefer to be alone. I've definitely met people who are extroverted, who like big crowds, who like to be the center of attention, who always want to be socializing with people. But most of the people that I hear, like just me on the internet, and this is why they're on the internet because they are introverts. The internet is the perfect place if you're an introvert. It's the perfect place where you can meet people, quote unquote. You can talk to people, quote unquote. You can communicate. You can get your ideas out there without any interference. You can turn it off. Like it's the perfect place for introverts, and I feel like that's why the internet is so big nowadays. A lot of people are making videos in cars. A lot of people making videos in their rooms. A lot of people who make content don't have big teams and things like that. It's just that solo person with their equipment doing whatever they got to do. An increasingly larger portion of the population also um don't have spouses. I feel like a lot of people do, but a lot more people don't. They might have kids, but a lot of people now just either don't want or don't have spouses. So the being alone thing, yeah, for strong independence and self reliance. When you're frequently on your own as a child, you learn to solve your own problems. Can't reach something? Figure it out. Bored? Entertain yourself. Scared? Self soothe. This early training in independence creates adults who are remarkably self sufficient. They are the ones who travel solo without hesitation, start businesses, or tackle home improvement projects without waiting for help. They've internalized a powerful message. I can handle this myself. I would like to say like I can agree for the most part. Again, I can't relate to the growing up as an only child, but I can definitely relate to spending a substantial and a significant amount of time alone. But I don't know. I haven't done the research for this. Like the Mark Zuckerbergs, Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, Bill Gates, all of these people who created these crazy tech, you know, plantations, if I should say. I don't know if all of these founders or CEOs were um products of only child. Well, yeah, were only childs. I don't know. I haven't done that, so I can't make the correlation. But yeah, that's interesting. Not gonna speak on it too much. Like I said, I haven't done the research, so I don't want to put that out there. But yeah, that's interesting. Five, deep thinking and analytical abilities. Without the constant chatter of siblings or playmates, solitary children often develop a contemplative nature. They have time to think deeply about things, to question why the sky is blue or what happens after death. As adults, this translates into strong analytical abilities and a tendency towards philosophical thinking. They're often the ones asking why when everyone else accepts things at face value. This depth of thought can lead to insights others miss and solutions that address root causes rather than symptoms. Reading Ruta Lande's new book, Laughing in the Face of Chaos, a politically incorrect shamanic guide for modern life, recently reminded me of this trait. Shameless plug for somebody else, but shout out. His insight is that we are all wanderers in a strange and inscrutable world, fumbling our way through the darkness with only the faintest glimmer of light to guide us. Resonated deeply. Those of us who spent childhoods in contemplation seem particularly comfortable with life's uncertainties and complexities. Maybe I should have been an only child because I can relate to all this and I understand it deeply because this is how I thought. But I think it's just my personality. I've always been a curious person. I don't like to guess. I like to have all the facts, all the data, all the statistics, even though you never will have all of it. I like to have an overwhelmingly amount of evidence before I make decisions and before I make a remark or have my own form my own opinion about things. But taking everything at face value, not gonna lie, when if you grew up not sheltered, if you grew up less fortunate, if you grew up in a place where you grew up too fast, you don't accept a lot of things at face value because you're not green. You already been what's the word? You already been corrupted in that way. I feel like if you grew up green as a pool table, then yeah, you accept things at face value, which I guess a lot of people are. But I didn't grow up seeing that. So that's not how I was. I was always curious. I always seen stuff and was kind of skeptic of it. I always seen things in a different way just because what I was getting told wasn't necessarily what I was seeing or experiencing. Like parents gonna do their best job to tell you this. Parents gonna do their best job to shape the world in a way that you can digest it as a kid. They gonna do a perfect their best job of doing that, making the world more suitable for you. But when you grow up in an environment where you getting fed all this, not propaganda, but all this, it seemed like indoctrination. But you going out into the world and you seeing something totally different. Maybe it was just how I was as a kid. I never could take things at face value because these people telling me this, but this is what's really happening. So I always felt like I was living a lie or a double life. You know what I'm saying? But that is yeah. I'm just rambling at that point. Six, selective but meaningful relationships. Here's an interesting paradox. People who spend lots of time alone as children often become adults who value relationships deeply, but they're incredibly selective about who they let in. They've learned to be content alone, so they don't need relationships for entertainment or validation. Instead, they seek genuine connection. Quality over quantity becomes their relationship philosophy. They'd rather have 3 close friends than 30 acquaintances. This selectiveness can sometimes be misread as aloofness, but it's actually the opposite. When these adults choose to invest in a relationship, they bring their full selves into it. Yo, man, like I said, I probably should have been an only child because all of this relates to me. I don't care about having. Let me be honest. When I was younger, I did care about having the quantity because you're young, man. You exploring, you experiencing. You don't intellectually, you know better, but life experience wise, wisdom wise, you don't have the wisdom to understand the quantity versus quality argument. You see what I'm saying? Some young people are extremely wise beyond their years and they can understand this. But I think it takes, like when you're a person with a good heart, it takes you getting screwed over enough times for you to be like, I don't need that kind of friend group. I don't need these people in my circle. I only want these kind of people. It took a, I would say, to about 6 months ago for me to realize that. When I went overseas and I came back and I started really realizing, like, I want to mend my circle down to where you can pinpoint damn near who is in my circle by who I am. You can pinpoint who I'm associated with damn near by who I am. You know we all share these morals. You know we all share these values. You know we all share these habits, these characteristics, things like that. You can tell almost a carbon copy, not an appearance, thinking, mentality, how we move, our actions, who we are as men, our deeds, that says everything about us. So, yes, selective but meaningful relationships. Make no mistake about it. This world is about bond, and this world is about rapport, and it's about relationships. If you don't have them, you're kind of useless out here. It's just you out here by yourself. You ain't gonna get far like that. Some people are exceptionally talented or exceptionally gifted, and hey, they are what they are. But there's an old saying: you want to go fast, go by yourself. You want to go far, take a team. And I want to go far, like legacy, years way after I'm gone. So yeah, selective but meaningful relationships. Seven, strong observational skills. Quiet children are often watching without the distraction of constant interaction. They become keen observers of human behavior, noticing subtle dynamics and unspoken tensions that others miss. These observational skills persist into adulthood. They are ones who notice when a colleague is struggling, who pick up on subtle shifts in group dynamics, who can read a room within seconds of entering. This makes them excellent judges of character and valuable team members who can navigate complex social situations with insight. I take a lot of that for myself as well, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, let me um shamelessly brag. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. My daughter kind of like that. My daughter is very much like, when I say extremely high EQ, to be a freaking 10-year-old, extremely high EQ. She can notice the subtle signs. She can peep energy. She can pick up on stuff real good. But she has such a genuine and good heart and desire to want to help people and assist in things and give a helping hand. You know what I'm saying? But when it's her time and she want to be left alone, she like this. She like, I ain't gonna lie, bro. She a lot like me. She want to be left alone and just doing her own thing. Like, don't bother me. I'm cool. I'm good doing what I'm good. Doing what I'm doing. I'm good there. But she also has the social, interactive, loving, caring side of her, the generosity, the curious side of her is as well. So I could definitely see that, and that's why, like, I don't have to worry a lot of times because, like they say, when you grow up into adulthood, these things carry over from childhood. That's kind of the psychology of it. I think psychology says like we gain our gender at what, 2 or 3, but we gain our personality around 5 to 8. And in those primary years, when you gain your personality, most people never stamp out of that. And whoever they is right there, that's who they're gonna be for the most part. Not saying that is what psychology is saying, but I'm saying whoever these people is when you meet them, that's who they gonna be. Shit, for real. 9, emotional resilience and self-regulation. Perhaps one of the most valuable traits developed through childhood solitude is emotional resilience. When you're alone with difficult feelings as a child, you learn to process and regulate them yourself. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions. Instead, it means developing an internal capacity to sit with discomfort, work through challenges, and self-soothe without always needing external support. As adults, this translates into remarkable emotional stability and resilience during difficult times. Yeah, for sure, man. I'm not gonna read the final thoughts, but that last one, for sure, I can see that because when you meet people who grew up as an only child, they seem off-putting, they seem cold, they seem like not they seem like the people that's not social butterflies, right? I feel like it's not like not no in the middle. Either you meet them and they just kind of like, I don't really want to kick it with y'all. I'm good doing my own thing. I'm in my own world, my own little bubble. They got their own bubble. Or you meet them and they extreme extroverts. They love people. They love to be around them because like I grew up as an only child. I was always playing with myself. Pause. I was always playing by myself. I was always doing these things alone. So when I finally got friends or got a friend group, I'm just outgoing like that because I never had it. I didn't grow up in a home with that. You see what I'm saying? I feel like it's kind of like not no in the middle. I feel like because I'm not an only child, I'm in the middle, bro. I can be secluded. I'm good by myself. I prefer to be alone most of the time because I do have a high EQ. I am an empath, which means I soak up and I absorb everybody's energy and emotions and everything. And in order for me to process that and squeeze it all out and get it all out, I need to be by myself because I never know what emotion gonna come out at the time. If that makes sense. Maybe a little something crazy in the head, but that's how I am. So I can see, like, for an only child, that emotional resilience is gonna come from them being able to handle all these things by themselves and having to a lot of times. But this is what I'm gonna say. It comes down to parenting. As a child, you shouldn't be soaring through no emotions by yourself at all because you don't know what these emotions are. You feel them, but you don't really know what they mean. You don't know what really comes with that. You don't even know the consequences that come behind acting on these emotions. All a kid know is I'm angry. So if they grow up learning or really seeing people act out on anger or just acting out on that anger and they never really distinguish the difference between holding that in, suppressing that, or they don't really understand the outcomes of their actions in adulthood, it's gonna get the best of them. So I feel like that's a parental thing. Like, yeah, being a lonely child or being an only child, it will build up that emotional resilience. But a lot of people implode. You see what I'm saying? Let me rumble. A lot of people who may be lonely or grow up alone or live life alone, they take all of this from the world and they put it in and they hold it inside. Where you gonna get it out to? You don't got a partner to just come home and vent to let loose, to tell all of these things to. What you gonna do? Tell it to your cat, your dog? You know what I'm saying? Your homegirl, she got her own problems. She got her own things going on. Your homeboys, they out there doing what the boys do. Who you got to tell all this stuff to? Nobody. So you harbor all of this, resentment in your heart, and you harbor all of this anger, all this regret, all this shame, all these other different emotions that you had to deal with as a child. Even though you're resilient, you can overcome all that. It's still in you up, bro. You can never get rid of yourself. Real talk. The loudest voice to hear is the one in your head. So that's why a lot of people implode. It just get too much, man. And I lost somebody like this. I could tell. And sometimes you can see it on people. Like they mentality and the inner workings of their own mind is speaking so loud through what they exude externally. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I'm like, yeah, emotional resilience may be built up through being alone as a child and being lonely. But I feel like this is where we start seeing depression in adults, decline in mental health. This is where we start to see people going out doing irrational things, just extreme irrational behaviors in adulthood because they don't have that healthy outlet. Or if they do, even if sometimes if you have a healthy outlet, bro, it's just much better to do it with someone. You see what I'm saying? Like your healthy outlet may be the gym. Your healthy outlet may be going to, the cafe and getting a smoothie and reading a book. But I'm not gonna lie, life be so much better when you got somebody to do that with. It's extremely, extremely difficult when you're doing that by yourself. So yeah, you may be resilient to it, but for how long? A lifetime? Like, come on, man. I'm not knocking what she's saying in the article as far as that carrying over to adulthood and how these people are being able to overcome all these things. But we've seen people like reach crazy extreme heights in life, do very well for themselves, do very great things, and then succumb to self deletion, succumb to a decline in mental health, succumb to drugs, things of that nature, man. We've seen a lot of great people fall to this because they've had to build this up and they've had to overcome and be resilient for so long. Everybody got a breaking point, man. Just straight up, bro. Everybody got a breaking point, and at some point, it's good to just have that release. I don't care how religious you are, how spiritual you are, any of that stuff, man. It's hard to live this life alone. Real talk. But hey, that was a phenomenal article, man. That was a phenomenal article. I like stuff like this. Avery White. Shout out to you, the author of this article. It was like I say, it get my mind going, bro. But I've been rambling long enough for tonight. I hope y'all enjoyed this. If you do, leave a like, leave a comment. What's your thoughts? Did you grow up as an only child or did you have siblings? Do you relate to any of this or was you just somebody like, hey, I was doing something else. I was with the boys or with my cousins or with my brothers and my sisters. But I like the article anyway. Tell me what you think. I'm out, man. That's all I got for y'all. Y'all have a great night. See you later.